G'day viewers and welcome to the next episode of It's Always Beer O'Clock. I'm Mark.
And I'm Simon. And behind the camera we have... Wait, there's no one behind the camera. Where's Sidekick Dave?
Simon, Sidekick Dave's pulled a sickie today.
Well, he is one sick individual.
Well, he's going to miss out because we're here at Yulli's Brews.
Wow, well, I feel like a Yulli's or two.
Okay, we're here today at Yulli's with James Harvey. Now James, you're the founder of the brewery?
Yeah, myself and my business partner Carl, we kicked things off. I guess the brewing company itself kicked off in 2014.
Okay, so celebrating 10 years this year?
We are in our 10th year of operation. But yeah, we didn't come into this facility here until end of 2017, 2018. So yeah, we've been here for 6 or so years now. But yeah, we did start the company about 10 years ago.
Okay, so take us back to that origin story. What was it that sort of instigated the whole thing?
Yeah, I guess the whole thing kind of kicked off. So you may or may not be aware, but we have another restaurant over in Surrey Hills. Yeah, called Yulli's. That's sort of where this whole thing kicked off from. My now business partner Carl had a restaurant there called Yulli's, which he set up with his partner Dan. I was working there. I was a pretty young fella, and I was just doing dishes or whatever, and running food and all that sort of thing. And then ended up sort of working there for a few years, and ended up kind of managing the restaurant a little bit.
Right.
And then started to get a bit of an interest in the great beers that Carl was putting on his beer list, and as a result of that, got to meet quite a lot of the local brewers in Sydney at the time, which was, this was 12, 13 years ago. It was a very small select scene back then, and it was nowhere near what it is today.
The craft industry was in its infancy.
Big time. Like your Four Pines of the world, your St. Peter's Brewery was still doing its thing. Your Red Oaks, your Happy Goblin, and like just little breweries having a crack, and it was a very fascinating world to me. Young Henry's had just started, or was starting up around that kind of time.
Yep.
I basically got to meet a lot of brewers that we were ordering our beer through, which I found quite fascinating, and I was lucky enough to get a little bit of experience, or an insight to how sort of commercial brewing works through the guys at Grifter, who you said you just met recently. Glenn and Matt and Trent, they sort of took me under their wing to come on for a brew day and check it all out, and I just gained a big interest in brewing from there on in, and started home brewing myself. Okay. With that I got really stuck into it, and I had a good sort of 18 months or so of like brewing a lot at home, and with that I entered my beers into a homebrew comp, and they won, which was a bit out of the blue.
That was at Vic on the Park?
Yeah, it was. Yep. Yeah, how'd you know that? Yeah. You did your research. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And I'm interested in beer.
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic. I was pretty young at the time, and it was a massive shock to be able to take it out. There was a massive amount of brewers there that day, and it was awesome. So and that gave me a bit of an opportunity to, I guess, scale one of my recipes onto a commercial setup, which that was the prize at the time, to go and make my beer at Young Henry's. So I got to make a big 4,000 litre batch of black IPA at Young Henry's, which was a great experience and great learning curve. And I guess from there just gained a little bit of confidence into like, maybe I'm all right at this. Maybe my beers aren't that bad.
So did you do any formal training, or is this just all sort of?
A little bit, yeah. So from there, Carl and I, like my business partner now, I work quite closely together at the time at Yulli's, and we'd always done a lot of, to be honest, we were shit talking at the time about how we'll have our own brewing company one day. We'll have a brewery, and this is the brand we'll have, and you know, we'll name our beers after our mates or people we know, and we'll have a bit of fun with it. And so we sort of were working a little bit on the side at, like, you know, this hypothetical idea that maybe we'll have a brewing company one day, and these are our beers. And so I was sort of tinkering away at home on some recipes while that was going on. And once we sort of made the decision to take the plunge and have get a liquor license and start, you know, wholesaling our beers, I also entered myself into a brewing course down at Ballarat.
Okay.
Which it was I did it virtually, but it was kind of the common course that a lot of brewers were doing around my time, and also a little bit before me. I think these days there's a lot more education sort of courses out there that are a lot more practical and a lot more hands-on with the way that the industry's sort of grown, and you know, more to breweries of this scale or smaller even, whereas the course that I was doing was a lot more geared towards commercial brewing.
I see.
But it was still very insightful, and I learnt a lot. But I think I also ended up pulling out of it early because I got quite busy doing this once it all got set up, and found I was probably getting the best experience I could by actually doing it instead of
on the job.
Being at uni.
So how long did you say you've been open here in Alexandria?
We're in our sixth year, 6th or 7th year now. Yeah, just about that. So we had about 3.5 years of brewing from that 2014 period where we decided to have a crack. We got the liquor license and kicked off, and I think it was Sydney Beer Week in 2014. We started just selling our beers at Yulli's, but the way we did that was by brewing at other people's breweries,
right.
gypsy brewing as it's sort of known, or contract brewing. And we did that for 3.5 years or so, where we basically developed a bit of a brand, you know. We got some of these beers that we were quite proud of out there and pushed them, and we grew the presence of the products out there between sort of here and Byron, which is where my business partner Carl lives these days. We sort of just grew our sales distribution sort of across New South Wales for a few years, and then once we got it to a point where we were pretty happy with where it was going, and we felt a bit confident about it all, we then took the plunge to go deep into debt and have a crack at making beer at a bit of a bigger scale and with a bit more growth in mind. So.
Well, it's a great place. I've been here several times and always enjoy the brews, and I like places that aren't too pretty. You know, it's a nice enough place, but you've still got that sort of industrial heritage about the place.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, it's a big. If you took it all out, it's a big empty box. It's a big empty, tall industrial warehouse. You know, that used to be. I think it used to be a taxi, mechanic place, right. Basically. There was not a lot to it when we moved in. It was basically just a big slab, not much in the way of utilities or anything really. So we've kind of had to build everything that's gone into this to making it, equipped for, medium-sized commercial brewery. So.
And talking of size, what is the capacity of the brewery?
So we've gone through a few phases. We kicked off with an initial order of tanks and the brew house and all that kind of thing. We've got a 4-vessel, 2,000 litre brew house over here. We'll do 2,000 litre turns. But each of our vessels, we've got one 2,000 litre tank, but then we've got 5 8,000 litre vessels, and then there's a bunch of 4,000 litre vessels as well. But that's sort of grown a couple of times throughout the 6 or 7 years that we've been here. But these days we're now capable of producing about 1.2 or so million litres a year.
Well, that's pretty substantial.
It's pretty massive. We're not there yet, but we've got the ability to make that. So we've just got some fresh tanks last year, so we've now sort of equipped ourselves for the next phase of growth, I guess, over the next 5 or so years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I love your branding, the artwork on your cans.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how did that come about?
Yeah, so I guess early on, as I mentioned before, like when Carl and I used to just spitball about this whole idea a lot, we often thought about what our products might look like and the brand that we might want to get out there. And I guess we just referenced a lot of the stuff that we were seeing at the time, and a lot of the fresh brands that were popping up. And as much as we admire them, we wanted to be very different to them, and we didn't want to take the same approach as being very slick, sharp, like real, like amazingly crafted design products that, like, even though I still think ours are, there's a lot of thought and a lot of time that goes into creating them, but they're a little bit more rough around the edges and a little bit more.
They're very identifiable on the bottle shop shelf or in the bottle shop fridge. From my perspective, anyway, my eye is always drawn to them. They're very Simpsons-esque, I think. So who does the design it? You've got a particular artist, or? We
do, yeah. We've gone through a couple over the years. The first guy who started doing it with us, he actually used to work at the restaurant with us as well.
Okay.
He was washing dishes at the time when we sort of had this idea to start a brewing company, and he was the first guy to put his hand up and said, "I'll have a crack." And we gave him the brief of Norman, our first beer that we ever did, and him and his friend worked on it and came back to us for the logo and a design for the whole thing, and they basically nailed it first go. We didn't really have too much feedback for them apart from, this is just awesome, this is exactly what we're looking for, which was basically that we want to celebrate and have a bit of fun with some characters that we've met or known or worked with, or who are big influences in our lives, and just relatable people as well that I think other people might be able to have a laugh at and enjoy and have a good time with. So that kind of goes with most, pretty much all the characters that we've had. They're all either ex-staff members or current staff members, or...
So behind each of those brands is a real person?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, absolutely. There's a couple that are a little bit inspired by, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So they're not exactly
poetic license.
Yeah, and there's there's a couple where it's like a combination of two people. It's like we've combined two of our mates and put them into one, and that's what you get. And then there's other things, like there's a dog up there, and then there's there's tradies who worked on the place when we got the place set up, or there's kitchen staff, or there's all sorts of stuff. So it depends on what it is, but I don't know, whenever we see an opportunity where that could be a bit of fun to...
Well, you've already mentioned a couple of your beers, so maybe you could describe your core range to us.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as I mentioned before, Norman, that was the first beer we ever made. That's probably still my favourite beer that we make. I think it's the best example of an Australian pale ale out there. We use the freshest Galaxy and Ella hops, which are two of my favourite Australian hops that going around, and that's a very clean, easy drinking Australian pale, nice and dry finish, but a lovely example of what Australian hops can do, with a nice light but easy drinking malt base. So there's Norman, and then Seabass, which is probably our best selling product, who is a lager, probably brewed in a little bit more of like a New World kind of Pilsner style. In that beer, it's again very light and dry and crisp and easy drinking, but it showcases New Zealand motueka, and I think it does a very good job of that. Single hop brew, and just super light and clean with a very identifiable, almost like floral, peppery kind of aroma and front palate from New Zealand motueka. Then probably our second best-selling product would be the Mandarin IPA.
Yep.
Which is brewed in a little bit more of a West Coast style with the addition of fruit. So a lot of crystal malt presence to it, but also again quite a dry finisher, but big bitterness and lovely big aromatic hop presence as well from Nelson Sauvin, and also the addition of fresh cold pressed mandarin juice, so that ferments out, and it's very much a big part of that beer is the mandarin presence. Then Margot, our dry apple cider. That's a product that we actually brought into the range when we built the facility here, because we didn't have any experience with making cider, to be honest, but we just thought we want a cider for our own venues, for our, you know, our brewery and our restaurant, and maybe some others might want to take it on as well. But it's grown into being one of the biggest selling products we do, and it's a great example of a dry apple cider. We use fresh Adelaide Hills apples, and nothing but that, to be honest. It just ferments out. We cap it at a certain level, so it's got a little bit of residual sweetness to it, but it's a lovely example of, I think, like a really balanced dry apple cider. We had a few batches early on where we didn't quite pasteurize it properly, and so we ended up with a few exploding cans around the country, which was not a fun exercise to go through, but we've definitely learned our lessons from that. So it's now a pasteurized product that we work with here. And then Clarence is probably the most recent addition to our core range. He's a hazy pale ale, again a very light and easy drinking, 4.5% pale, obviously quite opaque and very big in its hop presence, and a very good example of that sort of newer style. We're a little bit late to the hazy kind of world. I think it's just a beer that, I don't know, myself and my business partner weren't ever that really keen on, so we didn't really jump on that whole train.
The last couple of years, it's sort of been the beer, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've just seen it everywhere, and we get asked for it so much. So we gave in and had a crack. But I think I'm really proud of how the brewers have created this product, because it's a great example of the style in a way that's not trying to be too big and too, like, you know, like, let's have just one can and that'll do me. That's what I found with most of them, that in that sort of world, they can be very polarizing and a little bit out of balance. But I think it's a great example of a very drinkable hazy. And then probably the next beer within our core, which are probably worth talking about, is our rice lager.
Yes.
Karaoke Kingu rice lager. That was originally done like 3 or 4 years ago for a collaboration brew with Audio Technica, the electronics kind of audio company. We did that with them for Record Store Day about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was just one of the best received beers that we've put out there from a limited perspective, and so we just kind of haven't been able to get rid of it. And it's just grown, and so it's continuing to grow. So we're very happy to be continuing to brew that beer, and we just released a sort of winter version, the black rice lager, Kuro, just this week actually. So that's now available, which is a great beer. Yeah, it's a great beer, very good beer. So.
All right. Now you've been established here for quite a number of years. What are the plans for the next year or two?
We'll see. Yeah, as I said, we just have undergone a little bit of a growth kind of, I guess, you know, build. We just took on the lease for the next door warehouse, so we now have next door, which is a pretty big step for us. It's basically allowed us to go from around that 700,000 to 800,000 litre capacity to up to sort of 1.2 or so, and allowed us to, just be a lot more streamlined and efficient with our packaging, our storage, our distribution, our logistics, our everything. It's a lot more tight and less messy. We were so crowded in here for a number of years, and it was great, but we were on top of each other so much, and it was quite stressful, to be honest. So now we've got a lot more space, but now we've got a bit more, you know, I guess, overheads and things to work. So we've got a bit of.
But you've done that in a staged fashion, rather than getting too much space to start with.
Exactly. I mean, it still feels like a big jump now, but we've got a bit of a plan to work through it, and a couple of new products that we're working on, which will hopefully, we're excited actually, working on something at the moment which is very new to us. I won't say too much, but it's we'll towards the end of the year we might be.
We'll hold our breath and come back towards the end of the year and see what that is. Yeah,
no, I'm excited to get this out there, but we're working very hard on it at the moment, so we'll see how we go.
James, it's been great talking to you.
Thank
you very
likewise.
much indeed.
Thanks,
All right,
thank you. Cheers.
All right, we're here at Yulli's Brews in Alexandria with George and Sam and Callum. Callum works here, so we're not going to interview him because he's biased. George, you've been here before?
Only once, a couple of years ago actually. Yeah, came for the food originally.
Oh right, the vegan food.
The vegan food. Yeah, I'm not much of a vegan myself, but yeah, I had a few friends who had dietary requirements, so followed their lead. Yeah.
Okay. And what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking a sea bass.
Okay. What do you think of that?
I actually quite like it. I've only recently started to enjoy the hoppier pale ale type drinks.
I think actually you said it was too hoppy when you first ordered it. He said it was too hoppy, so I think
and now it's going down better.
He's on camera.
No, it's going down better now for sure. Yeah.
Oh, it's a good beer flavoured beer, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I like a beer that's like beer flavored.
Right.
Yeah.
And are you having the sea bass as well?
So actually, I had the Bloody Mary sour beer to start off with, and I'll tell you what, it tastes like a michelada.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you having now?
Now I'm having the sea bass,
The sea
which
bass.
is good.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for talking to us, guys.
Very good.
Cheers.
No worries.
We're here at Yulli's Brews in Alexandria with Simon. Simon, you've been here before?
Many times.
Okay. And you work locally or live locally?
Work 3 doors down. That's why we're here. I wouldn't say most weeks, but yeah, used to be most weeks.
Okay. Well, it's a handy place to work in that.
Yeah,
in that
that's
case.
right. Yeah.
And what are you drinking today?
This is the hazy pale. So normally the sea bass is the go-to, but yeah, I like a hazy.
Yeah. Well, I understand that's a newer one on the list here.
Yeah.
Are there any others you could recommend?
I'd say the sea bass. Yeah, it's kind of the staple really here. So yeah, and I think the Amanda as well. I can't remember that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Simon.
No worries.
All the
Thanks,
best,
mate.
mate. Cheers. All right, Simon. We've already tried a couple of beers. We've tried the Jed Mint Strength and the Norman Australian Pale Ale, but now we've got a tasting paddle
Yes.
here with the Sea Bass Mediterranean Lager, the Amanda Mandarin IPA, the Clarence Hazy Pale Ale, and the Japanese Rice Lager.
Nice lager, okay. Which side do we start from?
I say go left to right.
Left to right, okay.
So, the Sea Bass
Sea bass.
Mediterranean Lager. Yasu.
Yasu.
Oh, that is nice. We'll come back and report on these shortly.
Oh, it's quite nice actually. Just a hint of mandarin.
Yep. Okay. We're here at Yulli's with Christian and Sophia. G'day, guys.
Hey.
How you going?
Sophia, have you been here before?
I have, many times. We live like around the corner as well, so
Very
it's a
handy.
good local hang.
Fantastic. Christian, what are you drinking today?
Got the Norman Ale.
Oh, the Norman. There's
Yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good.
Trademark beer, really?
Yeah, and it's on happy hour today, so that's also a win.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Sophia, what are you on?
I'm drinking the sea bass, so that's the Mediterranean lager. So
Yep.
it's nice and crisp. So
Awesome.
great end of week drink, really.
Yeah, it is. Well, Simon and I have tried both, and they're both very good. Are there any others in the range that you could recommend?
Or you like is it the Amanda?
The Amanda?
The Amanda's
Yeah.
quite good.
I think it's an IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mandarin IPA.
Yeah, that's real
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, really good.
All right, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks so much.
Cheers. Okay. The Slick Rick. Okay. All right, Simon, our second tasting paddle may be a little more adventurous.
Yes.
We've got the Dolly Aldrin Strawberry Berliner Weiss beer.
Strawberry?
We've got the Gretchen Maple Syrup Kölsch beer. We've got the Slick Rick's Rampaging Red Ale.
So scary.
and we've got the Fat Nerd Vanilla Porter. So this should be a good palate cleanser. The strawberry Weiss beer.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers. Prost.
Prost.
Well, Simon, we've had a wonderful visit here at Yulli's Brews in Alexandria.
We certainly have, Mark.
Beer-wise, what did you think?
Look, I liked every beer I tried, which is unusual. But I really like the Norman's Lager.
The Australian Pale Ale.
Australian Pale Ale.
Yep.
Lager, Pale Ale. What do I know? And I also like the Sea Bass, which was a
Mediterranean Lager.
Mediterranean Lager. There you go. I'm a lager guy. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
But I also didn't mind the strawberry flavored one, whose name I forget.
The Berliner Weiss.
Berliner Weiss.
The Dolly Aldrin Berliner
Dolly
Weiss.
Aldrin. Yeah, that one.
Normally you don't go for those sort of beers.
I don't. And I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me the more I drank it.
And what's your opinion about the Fat Nerd?
It's a shame that he pulled a sickie and he couldn't be here, but
I mean
love
the
you,
Fat
Dave.
I mean the Fat Nerd Vanilla Porter.
Oh, yeah, no, this is really nice. Cheers, Dave.
All right, well,
how about you, Mark? Sorry.
Simon. I like you, I thought all the beers were great actually. I particularly liked the Mandarin IPA.
Yeah, that
the
was
Mandarin was just sort of under the surface. It wasn't dominating.
Yeah.
The maple syrup beer was the maple taste was very dominant.
Yeah.
If you like pancakes, you
Great.
probably like that beer.
Great on pancakes.
Yeah. But I also like Slick Rick's Rampaging Red IPA.
That was good.
It had a little creaminess to the mouth, and it was nice. And the Fat Nerd Vanilla Porter was also pretty good.
Yep.
But until next time, folks, remember, it's always beer o'clock. That'll do it.
I think we nailed it.
Yeah. I feel like a Yulli's
Or two.